Alright guys, there was enough to say about that last video that I thought I would continue onward about my first week in China. If anybody out there is listening to these podcasts because they're interested in becoming an English teacher in China, although things have been stickier and gotten more difficult, I'm pretty sure that my old buddy at Buckland could help you out if you were looking for a job. And the most amazing thing is that likely you would get your airfare paid back to you for a return ticket if you went just on a 1-year contract. That's typically how these deals work. They don't give you the money up front, but they will give it to you afterwards. I did get my reimbursement for my initial ticket. But yeah, it's an amazing way to see the other side of the planet and not have to go on your own dime. But anyway, yeah, for me, it was a veritable paradise. So with my group of friends and Chinese friends and others alike, we started doing all the touristy things since I had time. We went for a bike ride through the countryside, which was amazing. Again, not only there's these little peaks and mountains like this, but you can tell you're under the ocean because we've got all these caves that are dug out naturally too, probably due to the water in the past. And now it's all fields down below. Just crazy. This is probably the coolest place I've ever seen. We had already eaten very recently and we were stuffed, which is why we were bike riding. We wanted to get rid of some of that energy. And so on the bike ride, we stopped here, and the tour guide that we hired told us that this is actually a restaurant. It's run by the wives of the local farmers here. And what they do is they set up this restaurant, and they'll open one of the flaps up, or open all the flaps up, or who knows, and they have little tables set up in there, and they'll cook you a meal based on just what is in their fields, what they are growing, the local food right off the land. Of course, it would be amazingly delicious, but we just didn't have an opportunity to try it at that time. Not sure if it's still there, but I would eat there in a heartbeat now. I'd love to see the process of them cooking the traditional way as well, over great big either coal or wood fires. So yeah, you follow these little trails off through the countryside. I mean, how could you not just sit there for hours and try to figure out what's going on? I love this. This is truly a natural beauty in the world. And straight up and down cliffs on one side, and then perfectly rounded like a half peanut right here in the distance. And looks like orchards of some kind here. I'm not sure what they're going. Could be lychees. Lychees are very popular in South China. Yeah, such a clear, beautiful day. I'm very thankful I had a digital camera so I could take as many pictures as I did. Now, this is something you see a lot in China, which I find quite fascinating as well. There may be people living in here. This is a home, a building under construction. It's just 3 stories. It's likely just a farmer's house. He may have different family members, or was going to have different family members living on each level. This is very uncommon to see a home with a sloped roof. This is what you see 99% of the time. However, you notice there's no windows, doors, anything like that. What sometimes happens is construction will start with the best of intentions, and then the money runs out and everybody just says, okay, well, we're just going home. And then these homes essentially get abandoned. They just get left like this. Somebody else will buy the land and they'll build a different one somewhere else, but this one will be left alone. I guess there's some law in China, because you see this in big cities too, not just out in the countryside. And there's entire cities that look like this, but there's some legal precedent that you can't go, even though you buy the land with this on it, you can't legally go into this place and finish the work. You'd have to pay off the other owner or something else, pay off the work that's already been done, or pay the taxes on the work that's been done. So it's just typically cheaper to build one right next to it, you're completely from scratch. So you see a lot of these derelict kind of empty buildings around. Again, this is a village. There's not a lot of population in this area, but you get to some of the bigger areas and you can see cities that look like this, but much taller, even skyscrapers left like in this shape. It's crazy. And of course, as with any tourist destination, you are going to find little restaurants and little shops and things along the way that people just kind of threw up. This is the only 3 buildings around. There's a parking lot here that would fit 100 cars, but there's 3 buildings and typically only bicycles ever come by. That's one of the bicycles that we rented. Very nice. They worked very, very well. And here we go. Here's one of my friends off in the fields. We've got a little water buffalo action going on over here. Water buffalo are one of the safest foods or animals in China because they're not typically used for food. They're workers, so they actually have pretty good lives. They eat well. They are provided lots of opportunities to have marital relations with other water buffalo, and they do all right. And this is likely a little farming community here. All these people likely just work in these fields here for the little bit of money to watch TV and gamble and smoke, drink tea, and all their food comes from here. It's amazing the stuff that they grow over there. In a huge field and just enough haze to make these little mountains in the distance. Just so nifty, so cool. No idea what this crop is, but it looks interesting. And back in here, you can tell by these kind of, the fact it's a tall building with these very wavy top on it, that's likely a temple of some kind. It's likely the area where the locals all come to pray. They do pray. They do have a lot of Buddhists in China. It's organized religion that has anti-government messages, that is more things that the Chinese government looks into, not the little temples where people go and bow and pray and burn fake money, leave fruit sacrifices. Basically, these places are untouched, and why wouldn't they be? It's just people going about. They're not militant. They're not doing anything crazy. They just go pray for a little assistance and then go back home and go to work. I think they're fantastic. I have lots of pictures of temples. We'll look at some of those. As we're getting further along the ride, we start to get into areas which the sun has already gone behind the big mountains, so it's starting to get a little darker. Again, very uncommon to see these, but somebody just decided they wanted a single room. This will just be a single room house. There probably won't be any divisions or anything inside. Possibly curtains for the bedroom, but that's about it. And again, there is David. I believe his name is David. Also taking pictures in this kind of swampy area. This to me looks like an area where they have just planted rice, and that's why we don't see anything growing yet, but that's why it's also wet. Again, beautiful. Just beautiful. It's a pity because the camera I was using for these pictures was a 1 megapixel HP. Pretty much the very first digital camera ever to come out, long before cell phones had cameras or cell phones even could text. I mean, it was amazing, the technology. Yeah, just this also, hard to say. I see something going out into the water there. This is too big, I think, to be a rice paddy. I would say that this is a fish farm. Whenever you see a big body of water like this, look for a couple bubble spouts. If you see spots where there's a lot of bubbles coming out, then it's a fish farm. And typically right next to a fish farm, I'll show you a picture of this, it's quite crazy, is a pig farm. And what they will do is the pig farm will be here right against the water, and they'll just shovel the poop right out into the old lake, and either that's what feeds the fish, or that feeds that which feeds the fish. Not too sure which, but yeah, it really turned me off fish for a while in China. Now, being that this is a tourist town, you'll see a lot of fancier things like these lights, these street lights. This is not common throughout the majority of China. I just love that there's these little pagodas on the tops of these tiny, tiny little rock escarpments. Is that what you call them? Yeah, again, another little one way up there. So, of course, you put them there and we've got to go. So we would go hiking and we would find our way to the little paths that would lead up to the top of these places. So this was typically the type of path you'd find coming up. The steps were not in the greatest condition. They'd obviously been there for a very, very, very long time and had been traversed by a great number of people. But yeah, what goes up must come down. So after making our way to the top, we took some pictures, hung out a bit, and then made our way back down. This is one of the larger temples at the base of this beautiful big mountain. Love the lions in China. And then there's this one lady just sitting there selling fruit. Her only competition has gone to pee or gone for a nap. Yes, the beautiful temples. I don't think we actually went into this one. I think this was when we were on our cycling trip, and we were a little worried about leaving our bikes unprotected and having them stolen and then having to walk all the way back. This girl was, her name was Justine, I believe. She was from Australia. And we had, our group consisted of a Spaniard, an Australian, an American, a Brit, and me, the Canadian in the group. But this is a great view because this shows the majority of Yangshuo. It's not a huge place, and it's just tucked into this amazing little valley amongst these little stones. And there's me. Somebody volunteered to take a picture for me. It was very nice. Wow, wearing a t-shirt that must have been almost new at the time because I pretty much only got rid of that t-shirt a couple of years ago. Now, this is one of the bigger tourist attractions. You can get here by bicycle, motorcycle, car. Taxis will take you here. It's called Moon Rock. And legend has it if you're standing in the right place as the moon is going down on a full moon, then the light will shine through. And if it shines on you, then you're going to experience luck. Something along those lines. Very interesting place. Typically very crowded. But we actually rode our bicycles there on a super hot day, so it was not too bad at all. There's just in the city again, or in the village, and just looking up at a cell phone tower. Yeah, just amazing scenery, like nothing I'd ever seen in the world. Nothing I've ever seen since, to be quite honest. Beautiful little picturesque rivers. Normally these rivers are much higher. The water level is very low this year, so we didn't get to do any rafting, which was unfortunate. It's a very common thing there to go for a little bamboo river rafting trip. This I would guess is a war memorial, more so than a traditional religious or cultural memorial. Yeah. Just these is all this pictures. So yeah, this is where I ended off. So yeah, this is Yangshuo. This is the most amazing place in the world. This is the reason I decided to. This furthered my reasoning for going to China, is because I wanted to see this place, and if my future employer was going to pay for me to come there, pay for me to stay in a hotel, in a hostel, and be able to see this place, why not? And yeah, after 7 days, a van showed up with 3 very nice people, one of whom would become my new English liaison in the city I was going to, and we hopped onto the highways and undertook a 7 or 8, it might even have been 9 or 10 because they were driving slowly, hour journey back to the city of Yulin, which is where it all really started taking off for me. So the next video will be next videos will be a lot about Yulin and my life there, meeting my significant other there, starting my teaching career there, and kind of moving forward with my newfound life in China.